Whenever you guys are ready,
Okay.
we can start with instructions.
Hello, my name is Daniela Rivero. I'm a first-year Sociology and Latin American Studies major.
Hi, I'm Kate. I am a sophomore English major. Today we'll be talking about the book of poetry Don't Call Us Dead by Danez Smith, who is a Black queer writer.
It's very much about like the Black queer identity. He talks about police violence a lot, and he really combines nature imagery with violence. It's really beautiful. He's able to twist a lot of these things that we take for granted every day, and it makes me like now I feel like I look at flowers and trees a little differently because of how he's used them.
Yeah. Kind of like love and violence as well.
Yeah.
Like kind of showing that dichotomy and relating them, which is super interesting.
Something I liked about it is that there was a tension between describing like the Black experience in white America, but also trying to define people of color outside of whiteness. You know, as far as identity politics and understanding others' experiences, it's really hard when somebody says, I'm a queer Black man, to understand what that's actually like. He does poems from the perspective of Black mothers and police officers and young Black boys.
Yeah, and it really throws you into it because, like, I mean, as a white female living in America, I've never experienced those kind of tribulations, but it, like what you were saying earlier, it kind of puts you in that place for that small amount of time that you're reading the poem.
He says, praise the wet music of frantic palms, plastic toilet cushion, and shiny fingers. You know what that feels like. It doesn't have to pertain to an identity to actually understand this imagery and grasp the feeling that he's describing, and I think that's really powerful. You kind of achieve this level of empathy that goes beyond identity.
Another thing that I noticed in this poetry is that there's a lot of allusions to other art by Black artists. Like God Bless the Child is referenced. There's other like more contemporary references like
Jay-Z, Drake.
Song. Yeah, it's opened with a verse from Drake's lyrics. Kind of creates a juxtaposition of those two people and how they relate to like the race conversation and the conversation that he's trying to have through this text.
I would describe this book as like a beautiful marriage of Pablo Neruda and Frank Ocean. That's definitely what I was getting.
Yeah.
His use of imagery is really impressive. He uses similes and metaphors that I never would have imagined can describe an experience so well, but they make so much sense. Like, I think we should read a poem. I'm gonna read, this was one of my favorite ones, so.
Cool.
How old am I? Today. I'm today.
Oh, I was already on the page! Wow. Perfect.
I'm as old as whatever light touches me. Some nights I'm new as the fire at my feet. Some nights I'm a star, glamorous, ancient, and already extinguished. We citizens of an unpopular heaven, in low-attended crucifixions. Listen, I've accepted what I was given, be it my name or be it my ender's verdict. When I was born in bullseye. I spent my life arguing how I mattered until it didn't matter. Who knew my heaven would be my coffin? Dead is the safest I've ever been. I've never been so alive.
And I was a little worried, like, when I started reading it, I was kind of telling you this before, too, about how it's, like, structured and formatted is a lot like, I don't know, like Rupi Kaur-esque Tumblr poetry, and I was a little apprehensive about that, but I think really, like, the content that he puts across and, like, has throughout the entirety of the poems, like, really makes it a lot more powerful.
You know, it can be dangerous to make really painful and evil things sound beautiful, because she talks about, you know, sexual assault. His use of language is so masterful because he makes it, you know, really beautiful to read, but also he kind of gets at the ugliness of these things in a way that is really nice to read about but makes you uncomfortable.
And it's not a comfortable topic. It shouldn't be something like, that's what poetry tends to do, is aestheticize people's problems and make it this beautiful thing that distracts you from the truth. And I feel like he is very much trying not to just like over-aestheticize
Yeah.
what he's trying to confront. He's trying to say it in a way that's still poetic, but still confronting the issues.
I think everyone should read this. I want to give this book to, okay, maybe above a certain age, but I want to give this book to my family and my friends and my teachers and my grandpa.
Yeah, especially for like a diversity read, because I feel like everyone kind of needs more of those in their lives, and to have more, you know, exposure just to like other people's existences and how to kind of like empathize with that. I feel like that's really important. And what you were saying before about how it's like, even if you're not of that same identity, that shouldn't be like a barrier to reading it. I think it should be more of like an inclusion. It should be showing you how other people live.
I think poetry, unfortunately, like a lot of things, is very dominated by old dead white dudes. And
True.
honestly,
Definitely.
Shakespeare has nothing on this book. It's
Definitely.
really good. I think the contributions that people of color, especially that, you know, have a queer identity, can make to poetry are just incredible, because they bring, you know, a resilience and challenge of learning to accept yourself in a world that says that you shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And that makes for really powerful poetry.
I feel like people tend to shy away from reading books, especially when they're like long and they have like a busy schedule.
Yeah.
It's how many pages? Like 80 pages, and it's all poetry, and it's pretty easy to read through and so important.
I feel like it's the kind of poems that make you think differently depending on the context in which you read them. As a person of color, this book meant a lot to me because it talks about the struggles but also the beauty and the joy of growing up as a brown person in this country. And he talks about family and like, black boy joy.
I was a little nervous about picking this up, I won't lie, because I was like a little apprehensive because I can't relate to that, because I'm not a person of color living in the United States. But I think it's still really important and shouldn't make other people shy away from reading it, because it's giving you an exposure to an experience. And I feel like that's what people in this country need a lot more of, is exposure to people who aren't like you and who don't experience the same day to day.
I'm really glad that I chose to read this, and I know that I'm gonna keep coming back to it for the rest of my life.
Definitely, yeah.
Read this book.
Read this poetry.
Okay, cool. We're out.